Good evening, everyone. I'm just here. I'm waiting on a guest. The one and only Brian T. Singh, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I'll tell you what, the universe, sometimes has things in store for you that you don't even realize is going to pop up. And sometimes it could be an interesting thing. Let's see what we got here. I think this might be, I'm about to jump on. Bear with me, guys. I'm just waiting on, my guest. But yeah, it's just so interesting how like the universe really just sometimes things just happen. You're contacted by other people, and it just the garbage eventually gets flushed away by the positivity, right? And the beauty starts to come, right? So it's definitely I'm taking a whole other way with it this time. It's about full disclosure, right? It's about a lot of things. Okay, I'm currently right now trying to fight for children in the foster care system, and the abuse that goes on with that as well. I've contacted local governor here in my state. Pardon me 1 second. Let me bring him on. Hello?
Greetings, R0cko. How are you doing tonight?
Dude, I tell you what, the universe just works in mysterious ways.
Because you wrote that letter.
Right. And, but I'm more like I aware people beforehand, like if this is, I'm no longer that, you know what I mean? So let's see how it goes. And, the response was, I don't care about what that does. I want to hear you. And that felt good, actually, because it's like, okay, now I'm finally getting somewhere.
Yeah, it's you shifted the way that you see and approach the world internally, and it's affecting everything on the external as well now.
Absolutely.
So over the last couple of days, R0cko, you've been mentioning to me that you've been getting a lot more recall, and then some of that recall from these programs includes me as well. And you and I both, we talk about how I have zero memories of anything, and multiple people are telling me they have memories of me, and the programs, in particular, the R0cko program is the one I hear the most. But yeah, please share.
Well, as Sean Bond talks about, we have several like different souls, and how we have different places where we've been and different past lives and stuff. Well, we never know. This could be past life. This could be a program in a past life or whatever. But I do have memory of you. You were in what they call the Brookhaven National Laboratory on the eastern end of Long Island. And I remember you. I was in some kind of room. I don't remember. You walked up to the room, and now I know about, it was funny because I always questioned what's really underneath Brookhaven, right? And, I had a dream one time about that, and there were, alien beings down there. And what you had done was you were pushing a cart, and on that cart, it looked like there might have been meds, there might have been with your computer on it as well. And somebody came up to you. I don't know exactly. I can't remember face sometimes. Sometimes I have a hard time with the face, but like I'll get like maybe it was about maybe 5'5" or whatever, you know what I mean? Average, whatever. I'll get height, weight, whatever. Sometimes I'll get that. But with this, I couldn't see that face. But all I remember was it was like I was in that room, but then I was right in front of you. Like it was like it felt like I just teleported right into the hallway, like literally, like just and stood up in front of you, and you were telling me, "Boy, we got to go do something, and you better get it done." Because if you remember, not too long ago, you used that word with me, boy, and it actually triggered me when you used that word, boy. Because a lot of programmers would use that word, boy. Correct.
That's really interesting, R0cko. Okay, so then in this memory, it's like then let's say it's me in a white lab coat, and then I guess is it like I'm an adult in that form, and then you're in like a child form, and then of course for our audience, I want to remind everyone we're talking about time travel in clones and alters. All bets are off.
Yeah. Yes. It was an older you, and it was a younger me. Like I'd say about probably maybe 7 or 8 years old. But I remember it, and He brought me down, and I didn't know what I was about to see. And he said, well, now you need to revive this, I don't know, being, is how you said it, and started chuckling. And I was like, what is it? So you're like, do what you were taught with your mind. Bring it back. Do what you were taught with your mind. Bring it back. And you kept saying that over and over and over again. And I think I'm picking up right now that there was some kind of electronic with music coming out of it that would help with the vibrations, the frequencies in my brain to actually revive that being. And that's what ended up happening.
And then you said it was like a gray type of being, like an ET type being, and was dead, and you were able to revive it in this recall?
Hold on. Yes, I was able to revive it. Yes.
And then as far as you can tell, this would have been at Montauk at the Camp Hero, or this was at Brookhaven National Labs.
Lab. Yeah.
And then we know from kind of the chronology, it seems like the Montauk project, codename Project Phoenix, it first kind of originated going from the Philadelphia experiment to Brookhaven National Labs, and then from Brookhaven National Labs further to the far east end of Long Island to Camp Hero at Montauk. So then if we were to place this in kind of a more linear way, then this would have been like Brookhaven would have been, you and I potentially would have been there together in that format before things ever got moved to Camp Hero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And then and that of course would be mind blowing to me, that not only if I had any involvement in Montauk, but then also Brookhaven National Labs. Have you had any other recall, or do you have any insight into that recall? Like, what do you make of that?
I don't know what to make of it. I was just blown away by how I woke up and I just started typing it to you the way I did. But then now how it's like just off the hip, how it's coming out, and there's certain like other memories that popped up, like the music, for instance. Sometimes I knew I revived, right? But sometimes it's connecting with that person. I feel like you got to have that interconnection, kind of like me and you have to connect, maybe on a psionic level, or, we have to connect somehow. So when we connect, sometimes those answers are fed to us somehow, or our subconscious allows the conscious to, say what's going on, what you're remembering.
Well, the other thing I have to ask is, it could also be possible. Is it possible that on the one hand it might be recall, on the other hand, could it be an alternate timeline? Because that seems to be
very well could be. I'm the type of person where the possibilities are endless, and I'm, I know I remember seeing you. I know that. I still remember the time that you were in the lab coat and you were giving me a red pill. I do remember that. That too. I remember still. Like now it's like these memories, when I get them, they stick. But then it's weird when I get in contact with the individual like yourself and we're talking now. The energy, what I'm doing right now is I'm allowing the energy to move through my body and allowing myself to open up rather than stay shut down, because, that's what they want. They want me at a very low frequency. No, I'd rather be at a higher vibration, like Sean Bond would say. We are in control of our minds. We have these Jedi mind tricks. We have all kinds of, tricks up our sleeve. Once you start to learn about that psionic, the psionic abilities are powerful. What you can do to an individual that's coming at you, or what's attached to that individual, is what I'm being spoken to or told about by Sean. How it could be an altar, and that altar has something demonic attached to it as well. And it's attacking me, not the person, but the altar that's attached to that person.
So there are a couple of things there. One is that I know Susan Long in particular says she has recall of me being in a white lab coat as like a technician in something known as the R0cko program. And apparently in the memory, she's kind of like, and the R0cko program was one of these super soldier programs where they're incorporating more of the cyborg bits and pieces into any of the participants or I don't know, victims or super soldiers, however you want to call them. And she says in the recall, she's on like an assembly line on a factory floor, think like a GM car factory assembly line, except instead of working on cars, they're like people who are like in cyborg bodies. And she remembers having like technicians surrounding her as she's on this assembly line thing, having them hook in hoses to her, screw them on to clamp the hoses in, and then they're pumping her full of liquids and stuff. And she remembers that it was apparently painful. And she said that I was like on an upstairs level in a kind of like an office with scientific monitoring equipment. And that was her memory of me. And then I know Veronica Bartolini, she also said she has memories of me in that particular program. So here you are, a third person with me, having recall of me in a
what is time? What is time? Endless. It's endless.
It doesn't exist, right? It's all one time space.
So there's so many. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. Because if we just all come together and we put our differences aside, like our team speaks about, I like that, about having those, tribunals and that's beautiful. That's what I want to see. So that's why my sole purpose is that unity. And it seems to be working. It seems to be, people are messaging me that, I used to be a nutcase, you know what I mean? But I had to go through the breakdown, make it through the breakdown, which was the Omega programming, which made me the psycho crazy, out of control, person. And very suicidal. And I'm not afraid to admit it, very violent. That was because they were trying to divide me, so I would go and do something to myself, but it never worked.
For the audience, Omega programming, that's a self-destructive suicide programming. So let's say one of their assets is starting to reveal too much. This programming can kick in and cause the person not only ultimately to harm themselves, but first to go on a rampage and attempt to kill everyone that they've told too much information to, and then they kill themselves. And apparently this has happened in real life in some of these tragedies where the patient with the therapist goes on a rampage and kills their family and the therapist and then commits suicide. And some people are saying that, that is most likely was an Omega programming incident.
But it's like this, right? In the midst of that is sometimes when you're going through Omega programming, I notice like some of the memories, like they'll give you like glimpses of stuff that will like really graphically like mess with you, like graphically mess with you. Like, I've had clear shot visions of deaths, and then I'd freak out and think, it was wild. Some of the stuff I saw, like my friend hanging, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. They'll do stuff like that because they just want you to end it. That's it.
So now what you're talking about is if they're targeting you, the other side that doesn't want any of us to reveal these programs, if they're targeting you, they can use not only voice to skull technology, but I hear that they're improving it to the level where they can beam images into your mind. And so you're talking about them hitting you with the Omega programming. They can accent it with further imagery and sound to help push you over the edge if that's what they're trying to achieve.
Yes. That's what they wanted to do with me. But I know that I could not give in. I knew that something about me I was the type to try to strive, but then I would give up. But this time it's not giving up. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to tell my truth the way I know my truth, because we all have different truths. You know what I mean? Even though somebody says, "Oh, I don't remember you," does not mean that you're not a part of that program. So like for the gatekeepers, like that's just eventually that gate is going to fall, because when a person truly does the right thing, good things come. We bear good fruit. So, that seems to be the case with me at this point. I'm getting out. I'm getting my story out there. I'm currently speaking with somebody who's going to help co-author kind of like an Audible. And I'm thinking on the titles of like More to Life Than Montauk, because I'm going to break down the troubled teen industry as well, and how the troubled teen industry just so happenly hires ex-military, and they're waterboarding these kids and they're doing all this stuff. I sent you the link. Watch that series. I know those kids. I've spoke to those kids. Those kids are traumatized for the rest of their life. We're talking about restraining, we're over restraining, 5 kids on 1 kid, told to go out in the yard and beat the hell out of each other. They had a boxing ring at Bethel Boys. Wait till you see the docuseries, man. And I'm a part of that movement as well, because I lived that type of part of my life, was living in a hell like that. I like to call that like a hell zone, because, it's part of the reason with authority, and also even with the programs.
So then I got to ask, what kind of feelings do you get around that particular recall? Here we are at possibly Brookhaven. You're in a child body. I'm an adult pushing around a cart, dragging you to a sub-basement area where there's this body of an ET being, and I'm cutting you in order to revive it, just like you were trained to do. Well, does that bring up any memories for you, or
not like a moment? I drew a blank at that point. That happens, but I'm noticing the more and more I just let like things, I meditate on it. I think on it. Like I listen to a lot of like the Matrix music, and just with no words, I want to hear sound. That's all I want to hear. And sometimes it will connect things. Like it's weird. It will connect me. Like music is actually a good thing.
But and the music does play a huge role in the programs. For one, a lot of music has been stolen from victims and survivors, and still to this day, of course, never accredited to them, and then given to these lame bands that, oh, gee, why is that band a one-hit wonder, and that amazing awesome song that put them on the map? Like they can't ever produce anything that sounds like that song. again or at that level of quality, and it kind of makes you wonder.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And then the other aspects of a lot of the mind control and stuff that they pioneered in these programs, they just popularized and put into the lamestream. And fine, if you weren't getting MK Ultra in an underground base or a secret space program, then you were getting in other ways MK Ultra through the foster system.
Well, that's what I mean is it's quite funny that they hire these people, oh, we're going to help your kid. We're going to do this, no, we're going to medicate the hell out of your kid. We're going to beat the hell out of your kid. Possibly your kid might end up dying because, a lot of these places, people can just go buy a home, open a home and start whatever they want to start just through systematically, which is wrong, which I don't think, I think people should have to go through mind, you know what I mean? Where their minds are at.
Well, Rocco, we're going to say it right here. In a lot of cases, these child protective services agencies themselves have been infiltrated and overrun by the pedophile Satanists.
Cash for
right?
kids.
Exactly, the cash for kids. And, is it really any huge surprise that if you're going to have agencies that get control, what happens to kids that don't have parents or adults to protect them? That agency would get overrun, especially in this day and time. Thankfully, we're now hitting the age where this stuff, I believe, is being cleaned up. And we're part of that.
When I got on the phone call with that one facility that I was in, it didn't go too well. It did not go well at all because they were trying to tell me I was lying and all this stuff. So I, of course, told them, well, thank you for ruining my life. You know what I mean? And they didn't like that too much, but I don't really care because they knew they were lying. And like, I was made to not say, like, if I would try to say something, anything remotely about the abuse that I endured, unfortunately, that I had to go through, the pain and suffering that I had to go through that I couldn't speak about, it ate my stomach. You know what I mean? It ate my.
Well, there's 3 steps here. First, we begin by naming names and outing all the skeletons in the closet.
Started naming names, and that's where it started a huge war.
And then off of naming names, they start to get their funding cut. And then off of the naming names and getting their funding cut, ultimately, we'd like to see some arrests. And then perhaps off of that, you'd get the typical lawsuits, and then the victims being, compensated to whatever extent. And of course, as an organizer, I never put any stock in the legal system, quote unquote, of this country, as it were. Honestly, the 8 years that I was organizing medical doctors to stand up for the ethical practice of medicine, not once really did I ever see physicians standing up against these huge and evil medical corporations ever win. I always saw them get their butts kicked. The only people I ever saw win were the medical corporations and the attorneys.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the doctors, nurses, and patients always lost out.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. 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 It's a horror show, the troubled teen industry. It's just a horror show.
And then
medication in the Bible is basically, and hard labor. And, they didn't care about you. They didn't care nothing about you. All they cared that they get that paycheck.
Now, Rocco, I think earlier when we were talking, or maybe a couple of days ago, you were mentioning it wasn't memories involving me or anything like that, or whatever we want to call it, recall memory or other timeline, or who knows. But did you say that you had personal memories on Mars?
Not as far as Mars, it was with R0cko, who I actually, there is a war that is going to happen in 2030 with the Draco Empire and our own people. And people better be ready because it's going to get out of hand. It's going to get.
Okay, so you guys, this is wild breaking news here because both you, Rocco, and Andre are saying this, and R0cko is amongst the time traveler faction, along with Michael McIntosh and Michael Phillips, I think is his name, John Titer, and then through the projects and programs, Andrew Basiago, and then several others like R0cko through Project Phoenix or Montauk. And then so here's at least two of you, and I think there might be a third person out there saying that yes, in 2030, first in 2028, apparently we are going to get full disclosure, right?
Yeah.
According to this timeline. And so the deal is that in Michael Phillips coming back to prevent World War III,
Was
might have altered
coronavirus. Yep.
Right, and then he had to do with the coronavirus somehow being released, or the whole thing that went down.
And
that
world, yeah,
it
prevented.
changed, and then apparently it changed the timeline so that Trump did it. He was president in 2016, but it was stolen from him in 2020 when it should not have been.
No.
But then it looks like maybe a corrected timeline would be Trump 2024, Michael McIntosh 2028, and then so on. And then not only that with Michael McIntosh, but apparently there's this last-ditch attempt by the reptilians to retake Earth through an invasion, and then that ultimately failed.
We're gonna have a group of people like soldiers. You know, there's going to be a set of soldiers, and you know, people are going to die. People are going to die. I've already seen it in visions. People are going to die. It's not going to be anything fun. It's not. It's going to be a bloodbath. But the great thing about it is we're going to be able to take back our sovereignty from all of them. Everything that they've ever tried to suck away from us, we are going to regain that. We are going to regain that. Us. The ones
Can you tell us more, Rocco, about this, the conflict, and what are some best practices? Things like don't live in huge metropolis cities on the coastlines, I suppose.
Be deep off in the woods and you know, hiding. I'd go underground.
And then, guys, I want to say this now: do not live in the spirit of fear.
No.
Okay, you know, we're not meant to live in the spirit of fear. Take this message with a grain of salt. I mean, it's me as a prepper. I already took my own advice, and several years ago, you know, picked up and left San Francisco because it's a major metropolitan area on the coastline, and you know. So, you know, I think in this day and age, it's just better for humanity to kind of get more spread out, be more self-sufficient, try to leave a smaller footprint. You know, it's hard for me to say that for myself, but, you know, I live in a household with a bunch of people. And so actually we're kind of well distributed. You know, yeah, we produce a lot of garbage, but we got a lot of people and animals and, you know, people coming through here. So.
Oh yeah.
but any other best practices? I mean, I'm really happy that the United States is a two-way country. You know, I've got my freedom on the walls and in my drawers and surrounding me. That's always good, not to be unarmed. But,
have as much as you can have. Buy as much as you can and store it away. And just be prepared.
Right. So you want to have, like, be able to do food production.
Yeah.
You want to have water. Okay. Medical supplies.
I've even had visions of people eating dead reptilians because they didn't do what we're trying to tell them to do, and you know, stock up, and you know what I mean. Like,
can you eat the dead reptilians, or are they not good for you?
I
Like,
mean,
does it taste like alligator tail, or is it like
people
saturated with
dying.
ammonia?
I saw people dying, crawling all over the place. It was an ugly scene. Um, you know, they say it always gets ugly before it gets better, right? Yeah. Well,
Okay, then do you know how many years this conflict would last? Presumably,
um, I think it was Andre said 8. I think 8 years.
that doesn't make me happy, Rocco.
Well, I think it is, or 3 years maybe, or it's around there, but it's up. You know what I mean? It's going to take some time. It's going
Okay,
to.
so at least 3, and then as long as 8,
I would say so.
and then how much do you ascribe to the timeline being malleable? Like, we could cut that down or prevent it from happening, or
Oh well,
maybe
somebody
it's not
could
good to prevent.
anything. See, here's the thing: anything can happen because another time traveler from 2066 could end up here tomorrow and flip the timeline completely. You understand? That's why I said to Andre in the message that be careful using the name Phillips because he's so targeted. Once he starts to get targeted, he's off the internet. He's gone. Like if Michael Phillips says I'm going off, you're not going to see him for a year, maybe 2 years. You know what I mean? Or you'll see a brief video of him explaining something, or you're not going to see him again. He's not going to
Now,
conversate.
now, Rocco, I'm looking over here in our comment section. It looks like there's like a clown having a seizure on the laugh emoji. Is there any way to like let them comment, or we can see this person? Because it looks like they're snapping out.
You have them blocked. I probably have them blocked. I probably have them blocked. I do to deal with the cult. I've already exposed it on my page, and I'm going to continue to expose it. And that's the other thing that we got to deal with these days too, is people on the internet that like to go ahead and try to destroy other people's lives by taking their videos, taking their content, cutting their content up, and doing horrible things, cult-like things. All right. So one does
in the end, though, Rocco, they're spreading your word, and then the people, as they make fun of us, all they're doing is getting us a wider audience to the people who never would have heard of us in the first place,
exactly.
except for that troll. So God bless them.
Yep. 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 But when they start coming in and talking, and that's probably why a lot of them are blocked, you will notice eventually coming in my chats, they talk about my children. They've doxed my children. They're underage kids. I don't like getting upset. So if somebody pops in this chat right now where I'm at in my StreamYard and says something, you're a deadbeat dad, I'm going to block them. I'm going to block them right there. You're done. You're gone. You bring my kids up, I got rules. Don't bring my kids up. And it seems nobody can listen to that. You know what I mean?
That's a good rule.
You bring my kids up, you're out. You're gone. You're gone. You're a ghost. You're a ghost.
That's a great rule, Rocco.
You're a ghost.
No,
and Mike C, I'm gonna make a public apology to you right now, since I apologize to you for calling you the N word. I apologize to you. I apologize.
Are you talking to a troll here?
No, Michael C. Colliant. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Content. I know. Big Long Island Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's all. I just wanted him to know.
Good. Yeah, that's good. I know people. People are, in our community are generally pretty understanding, and everyone
is putting the effort in. It's
yeah.
It's like I listened to what you said to do.
Yeah, and I was taught to do that by organizers. If you leave the ego out of it and you do what's principled, you do the right thing, even if nobody else, as far as you can tell, is watching. then, it's like you don't have to have a long memory. You don't have to watch your six. It's like basically it's having the breastplate of righteousness if you want to go by Ephesians.
Right. Yep.
Now, I was going to ask you, Rocco, in terms of your recalls, let's kind of like make a list here of people that you remember and who remembered you. I find this is really helpful because just from an investigator viewpoint, having multiple people having their testimonies all overlap and basically corroborate one another is so incredibly valuable.
Well, now Arkeen has said he has ran into a couple of my alters. He has explained to me. Obviously, I know Arkeen from. I don't know exactly yet because we haven't went down that rabbit hole yet. But I'm looking forward to it. I really am, because I feel like he'd be able to open my mind to some of the stuff that maybe I'm having a hard time, getting myself. So, hopefully, that'll work out and we can jump on together one night.
Oh, yeah. So you have recall of Arkeem, and Arkeem has recall of you. I do know that. Do you know anyone else?
Joseph Powell. Joseph Powell was my commanding officer in the our time soldier program. Kimberly Murphy was also a part of that. I believe Whitberg was a part of that. And there's some people I don't recall because during this whole recall sessions with Joseph and doing the work with the, JSX tools and whatnot, well, it got a little, it exploded my mind to a point where I went kind of nuts. Like I kind of went nuts because I was starting to remember authors' names. Joseph was saying, he was, and I could feel it too because of the energy. I could like literally feel the energy, you know what I mean? Or I started, maybe I would dress like it, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like there was some weird stuff that was taking place. Like I can, shift from one person to the next person to the next, you know what I mean? And to play like a role if I had to.
Are you talking about altars?
Yeah.
Or clones?
Different altars.
And then are you talking about like kind of how it can be kind of disorienting, if you will, to get different recalls from different altars, because now it's like a different version of you, if you will, getting a memory. Is that kind of makes it even stranger?
Yeah, it definitely makes it stranger. It does.
And then what kind of recalls do you have of, let's say, Whitberg or Kimberly or Joseph, for example?
Well, with Joseph, I do remember when we were about to take over the base. He reached over and made me hand him my pistol, because at the time, I think you might have been told, like there was something with the twinning situation where I guess Joseph, and here's the sad part about being in love with somebody in the 3D, right? But you were not twinned to that altar, all right? So that would be Jessica. I was actually twinned, but that's what caused the whole, you know what I'm saying? It caused a whole misconnection. And
so when you talk twinning, you're talking about the process in the MK Ultra, methodology, where they'll take you and then generally a person of the opposite sex.
Well, yeah, I think Danny was a time soldier. And Danny was a very sexual deviant. But so was Joseph. And, I can say for me as being a soldier, and a salute to all the others, is we were not nice. It's like Joseph kind of grabbed me up at one point and used me for, his own reason, and made me do things because Preston would tell him to make me do something, or, you know what I mean? And I would want to bail. I would want to
all that. So Rocco, and all of that was under Preston Nichols. Okay. Who was a satanic pedophile who was, basically handling and abusing the children in the Montauk Project, or Project Phoenix, along with Al Bielek.
He was abusing kids even after the quote unquote book and everything in the 90s. I mean, I went to school and my teachers would warn us, stay away from the guy he drove a yellow school bus. Stay away from this guy. Stay away from the white vans. This was still going on in the 90s, my friends.
This is you growing up in Montauk, or where were you growing up?
That it ended, it ended.
Where were you growing up at when you were being warned this about Preston and all?
This is when my mom didn't tell me this till like recently.
But where were you? Where did you grow up, brother?
I grew up right an hour away from Montauk.
An hour away from Montauk.
Hampton, I lived in. My dad and my handler, who knew Preston, I remember now looking at some of his pictures and, whatnot. She used to take me out to the lighthouse. They used to have like picnics and stuff like that over in the parking area over by the lighthouse. And Preston was always forever getting kicked off of that base in the 90s. It was almost up till about 2011. He wouldn't stop going up there. Now, why are you going up to a defunct Air Force base, right? Why? Because you're still fucking with kids. You're still fucking with kids.
And then, do you have recall of Jack Pruitt or Al Bielek or Duncan Cameron?
I mean, Al Bielek looks kind of familiar. Like maybe, I don't know. It's been heard by, I think, another individual spoke about it. I'm not going to mention his name out of respect, but I think he might have been the one that actually pulled me into one of the white vans when I was younger, when I was staying with the handler. Me and my best friend, we were going up to the store just to get some ice cream, the usual kid, crap, and all I remember, and we were riding BMXs at that time. Get it? Stranger Things, BMXs, you know what I mean? Where did they get all these things from?
Well, I mean, all this 80s kids, I had my mongoose.
Yeah, you too. You guys too. But even in the 90s, it was big. It was big. I had a GT. I remember it. It was a maroon GT. Beautiful. Mag wheels, everything. And I picked it up. It had the mag wheels on it. Had the old school. It was a nice bike. I miss that bike, but I don't miss it being ripped into a van. I'll tell you that much.
So then when they took you, they took your bike too, into the vans?
Of course. And wherever I'd end up. So this one time when it happened is we were riding, and all of a sudden the door swings open, and it's a white van. They reach out and they grab me and my bicycle, and then I'm holding on for dear life on my bicycle. That's all I remember. And then I remember waking up underground, strapped down. The stench was like a sulfur smell, very, very like dampish. I could hear water dripping. And that's when I eventually was like, I didn't remember anything after that other than waking up in the middle of the woods. I was wearing a pair of jeans and no socks, no shoes, and no t-shirt. But I'm in the middle of the woods now. My best friend, he also got jerked up in that van. But I don't know what happened to him. All I know is when I got back to the house, he's like, why don't you have, a shirt, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened. And he's like, dude, are you okay? I'm like, leave me alone, man. I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to fucking be bothered. No, I don't. You know, people are gonna think that this shit is felonious for the trolls out there. They're gonna think all this shit. You know, all the shit we were ever taught in school, like James Bruce says in Montauk Chronicle. He lays it out. You know, no one's gonna believe us, but I really don't give a shit. And you know what? That's the truth. That's the truth. That's the truth.
And then we've got another friend who just wrote a book about his experiences at Montauk, Chris Latoureur up in Canada.
Oh, he's
and,
yeah.
he might be the real Duncan Cameron.
Yeah, he is. I believe.
Right. Who was the one who was put in the chair, who summoned Junior, the psychic Sasquatch, to tear up the base. And it wasn't Duncan Cameron as written about by Peter Moon in his Montauk Chronicles series, which everyone now knows, unfortunately, was whitewashed.
Scientology.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then you know, whatever his personal background, I just say it seems like he wrote the story that Preston and Al Bielek and Duncan gave to him, and it is a very whitewashed, watered down, you know, testimony of what actually did happen. And then they turned it into like the Stranger Things TV show, and then they left out all the real stuff, the good, but mostly the bad and the ugly.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So with Joe, right? Okay, so there's a park maintenance guy that's there. Back in 2020, I was going to go through a series of hypnosis with a woman because this guy knew her really well. And when I called her and mentioned his name, she said, okay, well, if you come out here, we can do the first day, then we'll go to Montauk, and then we'll do 2 more days of hypnosis. So then there's this Jawbones guy that gets involved, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Jawbones sounds a little military-ish to me. And he had some kind, I can't remember what type of symbol it was, but I do think he was a part of the military. I don't trust it because, like, she got up and did a whole video. We got a Montauk boy, possibly. I'm going to hypnotize, and did all that crap, right? Thank God I never did that. But when I met him and he looked me in the eyes, everything started to swirl. Everything started to swirl. And I then located the hatch underneath the fisherman's shack that's destroyed now. But I literally, he said, you see, he was looking in. He didn't even notice it, right? He was looking in and he said, there's a hatch here. And I'm like, no way, is it flooded? And I wanted to go in and check it out. So, and I went in, I checked it out. I stuck my head completely in. And he even said when I came out, I was like dazed and confused. So we're walking down Rough Riders Trail, and I don't know if there was loss of time. I don't know if there was what was going on, but he could not find something that he knew exactly where it was. It took us, we walked back and forth down Rough Riders Trail over and over and over and over and over.
This is you and a friend, or you and this park guard?
The park management that's been on television, that was the Joe Lafrino. Shout out to Joe Lafrino. Much love.
Okay. So so basically what it seems like there is that he himself also somehow participated in the Montauk Project, and then just like everyone else,
yes, well, but he's
like
not going
else,
to, right? He's been hypnotized.
Hold on a second, R0cko. But then, just like everyone else, Joe had his memories wiped, and then that's why now, you know, he's like walking the park, Camp Hero, with you, trying to also look for things. Like his memory is also just as clouded.
No, he didn't even want to talk about it. He didn't even want to talk about it, but he said, your energy, I noticed your energy. like I started talking to him, and he was like, it was like hanging out with a friend from college I haven't seen in a long time. And like when I did that live with him, I went into like some type of hypnotic state when he was talking. And Preston said he had a gift to do that, either deprogramming, but he believes it was some type of hypnosis.
Are you still in touch with Joe?
Yeah, he started having heart palpitations after he did what he don't even remember what he did. So I think he just did it. It happened. It was time, and it hit me, and that's when I started having those serious memories come back. Like I said, it depends on the connection. You could connect to one person, and 1,000,000 memories could come back. And then you're wanting to talk, and you know what I mean? You're wanting to communicate more and more and more and more and more, and you want to document it more and more and more and more, and you want to get to know more and more and more about it.
It sounds like we need to do another Montauk adventure tour.
I want to go there and release. I want to go there and have somebody help me release, like seriously, like, because I know that, you know, there's a lot of connection there. There's a lot of connection there. I sent you the messages from the one individual about, you know, and he's a smart kid, smart guy. But yeah, I definitely hope to meet up with him.
Well, then I want to ask you, in terms of meeting up with people, when you look at the lineup for the conference in 2 weeks here, how many of these folks would you say you recognize, if any, from Montauk? And I know R0cko is on there, obviously, but do you recognize anybody else?
Well, Susan, but we haven't had a chance to dig at those memories. But I'm sure if we were to dig more, there might anything could. The possibilities are endless. You know, and then there could be screen memories, or then there could be, you know, like I said, the possibilities are endless. Or it could be a.
Do you remember? Let me run some names by you.
You want me to pull it up?
Yeah, and I've got here. Let me share my screen. Oh wait, not that one. I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm gonna share my screen. That's screen 1, screen 2. Here we go. Okay. So, do you remember Penny Bradley at all?
I don't think we were there at the same time that I can remember.
Okay. How about, you remember R0cko? Julia Kamen or Matthew?
No, I can't say I do at this point.
Susan Long, though, you said. You remember her. She remembers you, and you.
Yeah, with I had a right bionic eye, and she was walking me through some cave. So okay. I don't know. And Montauk has caves, so interestingly enough, so it was more like a cyborg, I guess, thing. I don't know.
That might have been the Hulk program. How about Drago Reed?
I actually messaged him and asked him about the hypnosis and to see, you know, maybe about a session or whatever. You know, just trying to reach out to the community. Christopher S. Jacobs actually saw Danny in his own living room, and supposedly Danny battled a demon with him or with his. I don't know how to. It was hard to explain. That was a hard time of my life. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like it's blank slate now. Like, because I'm moving more, I move forward, and the more I connect with others, I start to lose that fear, because I'm like, okay, now I always show respect now when I message people or they message me or whatever, and if they say, hey, would you like to come on to a show? I'd be honored. No, I'm not going to say no. No, I'm not going to be afraid to tell my truth. No, I'm not. It needs.
And then how did you meet Christopher Jacobs?
It's a long story that I do not want to get into.
Okay.
Now, it's funny because this individual right here, yes, she does look very familiar.
Which
to
one?
Audrey, right next to Audrey.
Or Dana Louise?
Yes. Actually, the individual who's going to be interviewing me on Sunday night, it's trying to connect us because we have similar, she said, memories. And I showed her a couple of pictures. I showed her a picture. I spoke to her a little bit about it, and then she set up a group chat so I could get in there and try to, I don't know, maybe, she does look familiar. She definitely looks familiar.
How about Sean Bond or Mario Maharez?
Well, of course, Sean Bond.
Do you remember him from the program?
I don't remember him like that. I just remember him like the Bond, like the guy that comes in and gives you all the tools you need, or the tools you need at the time you need. So it's like if you message Sean Bond and you're good with Sean Bond and he really likes you, he's going to get tough on you. And he's going to tell you, no, this is not. No, you're way more powerful than that. No, you got to look within inside of you and allow those balls to open. Those balls, the psionic abilities inside of us that we have are wickedly crazy, are out of control. What you can really do when you put your mind to wanting to do it.
And then how about either Anthony or Alyssa Zender, the siblings?
I don't know about
okay, or how about Alondra? Arkeem has a lot of recall of Alondra.
Alondra said he remembered me at one point or something, and we haven't really spoke on it much. We just say hi and bye. But eventually, yeah, I'd like to dig into that. Yeah, do another Montauk tour, man. Let's do it.
And then the last ones on this list, maybe you'd recognize, perhaps, would be Nate Gray or Carl Dory.
Yeah, Carl looks a little familiar.
It's pretty interesting, though. I mean, we already had overlap in this one list alone, and I know people they recall seeing you in some of these programs, so it's pretty wild. I mean,
that's what I mean is I'd like to connect with those people so I could, see if because look, I got to get into that real meditative state of mind. I got to get real, relaxed, smoke a nice joint, you know what I mean? And let my mind wander to, once like I could do a show with somebody or somebody else jumps on and they say something and I go to sleep later that night after I relax, smoke my joint, meditate a little bit, put on some music. Like I said, I don't really like words. I like the Matrix type music. I like to close my eyes and see myself going through different dimensions, and that stuff is cool. I like that. I like that virtual reality type world in a way. You know what I mean? Not to say that I want to get involved in video games, because I think a lot of the video games today are programs for, certain people to get a hold of and then think that they play it so long that they go out and they do something that they're not supposed to.
So now that you're reestablishing all these connections with people in the community, and they're kind of, from all indications, they're embracing you back with open arms. Do you feel that you're helping to help them gain recalls as well? Like
Nicole said earlier about the one individual, you know, there's similar things there. And then when I looked at her picture, I was like, oh, wow. And then when I seen it just now, I was like, because I could see it closer, I was like, wow. And it's on a bigger screen. So it's like, wow. Like, yeah, I could definitely remember. I definitely can remember seeing her there, but
Let's
not.
give a shout out. Let's give a shout out to Coley, because I'm going to be on the Coley and Marquise show on July 28th at I think it's 6 p.m. Pacific time. I'll double check that.
I
And
will.
Rocco, you're going to be on their show soon as well, right?
This Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
There you go. Sunday, live at the Coliseum.
Yes, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. I look forward to it. Yes, I do.
So, you know, I want to put in a not so shameless plug here for posterity. Our conference is coming up in 2 weeks. We've got about 40 presenters on 2 stages, and then we've got lunch and dinner workshops. Each of the 4 evenings, we've got a special event dinner. We're going to have a CE5 UFO night watch tours right there on the beach, because the Serrata Beach Resort
It's gonna be
is
good.
right on St. Pete Beach. So you literally go to the first floor and you're ground level, walk out, there's a swimming pool, everything. So I'm almost as excited for the pool and the beach and all that as I am for the amazing conference that we're throwing. And that's a big reason why I'm making it a point to go to the Day of Being beach gathering. That's a free Saturday and Sunday beach weekend, immediately preceding our Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of goodness for the 2024 Full Disclosure Now conference. You know, so I want to, you know, thank you for having me again, Rocco. Especially as you continue to get more recalls and other people have recall of you. This only strengthens the entire community, because it's yet one more person coming forward with a very, I mean, like, just the detail of when the white van is coming to grab you, and not only do they take you, they snatch you up and your bike, and then your buddy and his bike, you know, and then your buddy remembers you coming back, you know, with pants but no socks or shirt or shoes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That level of detail, and when you keep hearing it from people over and over, and their testimonies do not change, whether you listen to them 20 years ago or today, they're giving the same testimony. And from my own field work as a medical advocate, I find that when people are giving testimony like that, they're telling the truth, at least as best they can from their own perspective.
Yeah. You know, there's no documentation out there. Unfortunately, it's all been conveniently destroyed. And that's why people that are alive go through the pain they do, because they want us to look crazy. That's what they want. They want us to look crazy. But it's 2024, and it is what? Full Disclosure Now conference coming up, man. It's coming up. I wish I could make it to that one, but maybe next year. Who knows?
Next year, Rocco, I've got a slot for you on one of the stages. And then also, I want to say adieu. We got the troll who is spazzing out on the laugh emoji. I mean, it's just wild. It's kind of like, thank you for helping our algorithms and adding to our audience. And then, of course, Coley, thank you so much for being here. I also very much look forward to being on your show at the end of this month. And I'll have a lot to update, I'm sure, on how our conference goes 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, they can laugh all they want, but, you know, one rule, like I said, no kids in my chat. No kids. No talking about children.
I'm going to flood the chat room with hearts spastically as they spastically hit the laugh emoji. So sometimes you got to love your haters. So
yeah.
with that, I guess it's dinner time, and we're at the hour.
Yep.
So, I look forward to doing this. Hopefully, maybe we'll get in one more of these live chats before I hit the road to drive across country to get to the conference in Florida.
All right, man. All right. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Stay in contact.
All right. Thank you, everyone. God bless.
All right, man. Later. Well, that was great. Now watch this. I'm going to play a little game because the trolls like to come out, sometimes, but, it's okay. Oh man, let's just see. Let's just see. But that's what happens. We got a good show tonight. Thank you everybody for tuning in. You know what? I'll chill on here for a little while longer. See if another friend of mine pops in. He might want to jump in here and chat. And then I'll probably call it a night. Wow. Just wow. The recalls, the seeing pictures of certain people and then being able to, pick up on certain things because now I'm operating at a higher vibration and a frequency. Oh, hell yeah. I stay at a high vibration and I stay at a high frequency all times. And when I notice I need, and I get low, it's almost like, okay, now it's time to go to sleep. It's been weird. That's been happening a lot too. I don't know if anybody deals with that, but I will wake up in the morning and I will be completely exhausted after 2 cups of coffee at times. I don't know if it's because of being pulled in on a mission. I don't know what it is, but because it's weird. I can't remember all of my missions, but I can remember being in the cages. I mean, I can remember that stuff like it was yesterday. I remember being in a cage right next to Joseph Powell, and he was trying to calm me down. And this was before, he became whatever, my commander. And man, that was one hell of a time. I'll tell you right now, being a time soldier and going through that program in Montauk was one hell of a time. And it even bled into this 3D that we're in now. It even bled into it, like literally bled into it. And kind of caused a huge upset. So, and the problem with me is like, I noticed I don't want to be one of those egotistical people. I want to be as humble as possible. But at the same time, you do and you treat people the way you want to be treated. So if you come in my chat, and I know I have a lot of cult members that try to follow me on a regular basis, that have tried to destroy me and my family, and I know their names, and I will tell their names right here in this live. I will tell their names. I do not care. I've done it before, and I'll do it again. Eric Flanagan. Eric Flanagan. Oh, yes. AKA Little Family. AKA Cult Squad. Oh, yeah. Do you love me now? Or do you hate me? Reality of it is my eyes are always open. And there's also a third eye, by the way. So once your third eye opens, you see things way differently than the next person. And there's a lot of humans that are walking around that are just they're so, you could look in their eyes and all you see is coal, literally. So their soul is dark. So if they have a dark soul, they're really not, to me, they're really not even a human being. There's just some really horrible things that walk around. I mean, from, you know, calling me a pedophile supporter to all this other stuff, you know, I mean, this is what happens. This is what happens when you get targeted. You get people like this that, I mean, try to destroy your life, every last bit of your life. But what didn't kill me? What made me stronger? Anyways, guys, I'm getting out of here. Much love. And just know that the universe always has something in store for all of us. Later.